right, well, I've created a bit of a difficulty for myself here. But I think I'm probably up to the task of fixing it. So I'm going to start out with a little bit of titanium white, a little bit of burnt sienna, a little bit of cadmium red medium, and I'm going to see whether I can march the values from light to a little darker, a little darker, a little darker, to see if that works. It may, and it may not. And the only way to find out is to give it a shot. We'll see what happens. Now, what with all that delicious underpainting, I don't want to hide it all at this point. Let it work for me instead. And I'm using about a 1/2 inch flat brush that's got a little bit of an edge to it. What I'm trying to do here is make these curves that I've defined into something a little more interesting. Adding a touch of yellow ochre and white and a little bit of orange. And I'm just going to keep telling myself I need to be a little loose here. Now, one of the problems I'm going to face is that I may end up, if I don't watch it, I'm going to make this foreground entirely too busy. Luckily, there are some pretty easy ways to deal with that if it becomes a problem. So now for this area, I'm going to work essentially with the same pile of paint, and I'm just adding a little bit of, guess what? Dioxazine purple, because because the paint was that I was using here had such an orange component, adding purple grayed that color. You notice I haven't gone back to get more paint yet. I'm scumbling a lot of this. And I think I need to bring this down a little more in line with that, kind of a combination. Now this is going to be way too light. But it's cool. And it seems to be what I'm doing here is these spots and lines were giving this kind of a directional attitude to that top part, and I seem to be going opposite that now, but that doesn't mean I'm necessarily ready to let these parts go. One of the hazards here is trying to paint something in the back around whatever is in front of it. That's you need to really watch to see that your brush strokes don't simply echo that shape, or it will be obvious what you've done, and that will reduce the magic of illusion. See, I will use the paint that's on the brush from when it is fairly wet until it is almost dry. You see here I've got that same problem. And I added just a touch more, well, I don't even see it. Added a touch more cobalt blue. And if I can't do this convincingly, I will simply have to change this line. And in fact, I think that's what I want to do now. This may end up, I may end up having to go dark again to make this all make sense. So, using the same paint, just adding a little, added a little cadmium red, and can't remember what else I used. I think I need to change that line so it's not concave up here. I need that I need to be convex to echo this. And now I think I need to bring bring some more light into this. I actually I'm becoming perilously close to creating mud. I think, yeah, that's always been an issue with me, the color blindness. Sometimes leads me astray. So I'm being a little too precise. So I'm moving my hand back on the brush. It'll give me less control and will allow me to see the whole painting at a glance. So now here I'm scumbling, and I'm going to I'm scumbling right over the edge. So that those edges are lost, at least to a degree. Here I'm using that same color in the name of unification. Well, this is an interesting problem. This is, I could have let the painting go the direction it was. If I had done that, it would have been within 15 or 20 minutes perhaps of being finished. But it really did annoy me that I had gone to that straight up and down and straight across business. So what I'm doing now is trying to show a little more form and solidity here. And you see here, I'm holding the brush still and just moving my arm. And once again, I'm trying to use the same color in more than one area. I may have to warm this all up a little bit with some more yellow. But I'm just pussyfooting around, so that's because I'm doing a demo and I'm supposed to look like I know what I'm doing. And loading up a little more, a little yellow, a little orange. And let's see, I think I'm gonna get rid of that dark. you see there's such a difference in character between the areas where I used a brush and the areas where I used the palette knife. That's going to create a problem. I also have a problem with the warmth here. It's distracting me from that and seems entirely too warm. So once again, this is an almost dry brush. Get a little more. And I'm back in the paint. I've got a little yellow ochre, a little white. So much of that yellow ochre worries me, so because it's really easily going to turn into a color that I can't understand. This already is beginning to look a little bit like baby shit green to me. So you can tell now that the kinds of problems you encounter when you're painting are problems that I encounter as well. Saw something, a quote the other day, don't think I can remember it verbatim, but it was like was the difference between a pro and an amateur is that a pro can recover from his mistakes with a degree of aplomb. I'm sure that word was not used. Well, you see now here I'm creating more and more trouble for myself. You notice the random, I'm trying to maintain a random feel with my paint strokes. Mixing the colors right now has become a little more challenging because it's going to be so important for me to try to hit the right values as well as the right hue. And I keep looking for the right kind of movement because I don't want this painting to end up being too representational. Still, I like the idea of having more form here in the front, the foreground. Once again, see that I've not gone back for more paint, and the paint that's in the brush is almost dry. So I'm scumbling. Trying to come a little bit lighter. You see, because of the dark sky, I'm essentially working backwards. In a normal landscape, the further away you get, the lighter things are going to be. But that's not going to work. Not going to work here. But I've got yet a lot of work to do. So I'm going to try to make some things happen. See what happens down here. I'm using white and going to be using yet more purple. At some point I may give up with that and try working with greens. So I've mixed white and purple and cadmium red, and I just want to see what's going to happen down here if I use that. Well, that's what happens. Okay. You know, that little bit of accident may turn out to be fortuitous. I'm going to move that dark area up in value because I'll be able to take it back down later if I need to. And I want to be sure to bring this color off the edge so that it doesn't look like I just painted it here in the middle of the painting, that this painting is somehow a world in and of itself. What I want it to convey is that there's more painting, there's more landscape, and I have just framed this small part. Okay, now, as it turns out, I really like the introduction of the violet down here, because it helps unify things. And in the name of continued unification, I'm going to put some of the same color up here. And once again, I'm trying to avoid that straight across business. Now, I had taken great pains with the convex nature of that, and I've obscured it to some degree. And I'm not sure that's what needs to happen now, because this is so strong. So I think I'm going to bring all this up with this color. Had to go back for a little bit more. And I think I'd better do a pretty good job of covering it up. It was not the right color. One way you could look at this is I'm dancing with a partner here. I'm just getting a little more red in that. I'm dancing with a partner, and occasionally she will change the tempo of her steps, or she will falter on a movement, and suddenly, although we have been dancing a tango, suddenly we're instead in the middle of a rumba. That's not the vacuum. See, this is being difficult because I'm making these changes after that, so I find that I'm trying to relate everything down here to that. It would have been much easier if I had established all this first and then chosen what I wanted to do for the contrast up there. But it is what it is, as they say. All right, now I think I need to bring some of this blue down a little bit further in the painting. Sorry for these long pauses, but I'm trying to pay attention to what I'm doing over there. So, I think what's called for here, not only am I dealing with value and hue and directionality and volume, I am also dealing with complexity. And what has happened here, now this was for a while absolutely the most complex part of the painting. Now, because of the layering I've done over the top and here and here, this is suddenly the most complex part. So I'm going to try to follow that road. This is taking a lot of thought because I'm juggling so many things. Value and hue. Very light touch. You see, one reason this looks so confused is because I am confused. I haven't taken the trouble to figure out what that is or what's actually going on there. So now I've taken dioxazine purple and a little black again. Part of the problem I'm having here is exactly because of my color blindness. It is, I know the color I've got here, but it's hard for me to see it. If you can imagine what that's like. Ooh, I think I could deal pretty successfully with this area over here, but this, I don't know. So I'm just going to have to try some things. Throw them at the wall and see what sticks. Remember that probably the best thing that happened to this painting since I started to muck it up was that accident. And speaking of that, I've got this color up here almost exclusively, and that's a dangerous thing. So we have lots of sirens. They've probably found somebody not social distancing. Isn't that a weird term, social distancing? Social distance, everything is social, except me. Well, now these spots have become too dark. I could probably use some of the darkness up there, but not those spots. So you see, I'm doing this because I don't want it to look like I'm following that hill. All right, still not happy. Well, that's interesting. But this is still a problem. So I'm gonna take a break, get some ice in my glass and some Diet Pepsi, and sit here and look at this for a few minutes. I'll be back. Well, it only took a second when I moved away from the painting and could see it all. And it's obvious that all of these values are so similar as to be almost indistinguishable. And that reduces the impact of the horizon line. And I could spend another couple of hours pussyfooting around trying to figure out what to do. Instead, I'm going to once again make some massive changes and see what I can pull out of the rubble of the painting I've created. So I've got a little bit of purple and red. I wish you could see my palette, but I just couldn't face dealing with two cameras today. So I'm mixing some purple and red to see what I can make happen here. And you see, I had a choice. I could take this darker, which would have worked, or I could take this lighter, which will also work if I can do it right. And the paint I'm applying now is not moving me in entirely the right direction, but I see some other things I want to try. So, a little white, a little orange mixed in with the paint that was already on the palette knife. Let's see. You can't see, but you can imagine I'm licking my finger again. I'm running out of fingers. See, I've got the blade just almost flat against the panel. Same color, but with a touch of cobalt blue. And you see I'm going ahead and pulling it over this line, implied line, because I'm not, I can always redefine this fairly easily. And I think I need to keep bringing things up in value. So I've got a little bit of white and a touch of cadmium yellow. And cadmium red. And now I'm going to create even more trouble for myself. That's all right. Brush. I need to do this because the busyness I had created was just going to overwhelm. Scumbling. Being careful to go off the edge. And I don't want those to be the same width. So I'm continuing to lighten this. While at the same time reducing its, well, the intensity of the warmth toward the bottom. But I want to leave some of it there. All right, now back into the danger zone. And here comes another train, so I'll keep working while you listen to it. What I'm trying to do here is balance areas of complexity. So you can see there's some activity here and not much here. And I don't think there should be as much here. But I still have not got the values right. So I just took a little more dioxazine purple, and I want it to be lighter, but I don't want it to be very intense. You see what's happening? Do you see what I have done? I have moved from straight up and down to big curves to I'm moving back toward my comfort zone. I've got to do something to relate this. I've got to somehow bring the values of this area up, and hit the right color at the same time. I'm not doing very well. That. There we go with the finger licks. And and you can see this is both the fun and the challenge of just creating something completely out of your imagination. I feel like I'm chasing it around. And it's quite annoying. Although, I have to tell you, I've been here before many times. I feel like I still need to bring this up in value. Well, this is the kind of thing that happens. Bringing this up in value has created some interesting things, but it has made this look really forced and clumsy. There's almost no relationship except proximity between this and this. So I have to think some more. I'll be back. Okay, boys and girls, hold on to your hats because there's another big change coming. I just don't like what I've got. So, Now, I need to force dry that a little bit. I think when I finish this, that's assuming that I'll finish it someday, I should take some stills from the movie, from the video, and show the various incarnations of this painting. So that would be illuminating for both you and me. Oh my, well. See, I'm walking my fingers back on this brush so I can stand back. I'm going to be using the edge. was that was burnt umber and dioxazine purple. This is just a little white with some yellow. You see, these little half steps of value I'm trying to increase the complexity back here, but keeping the values quite light. And I'm also trying to incorporate some vertical movements. Now, you see, I still have, there's a difference in value between this and this. I could take this whole area and lighten it, but I'm not sure. I think that would just open up a whole other set of problems for me. And as you can tell, I'm not doing very well at dealing with problems right now. This is why every time I face a blank canvas, I'm scared to death, because things can get out of hand so easily. All right, now I think I need to give myself a little help. And this time I'm going to take the easy route. So that was just cadmium red with a little bit of yellow and a little bit orange. And now I'm doing a little bit more yellow and I want to give that little dot a bit of form by lightening one edge. Well, this is not at all where I thought I would end up. But I'm old enough to know that most of life's journeys are like that. I ended up with not a very round circle there. And part of that I will have to say is because I have severe dry eye. Which makes things blurry, and that makes things difficult when you're trying to work small. Okay, one last little bit of work. Once again, white and yellow. That was not particularly helpful it's a good thing I don't find that art is in any way similar to the Hippocratic Oath. First, do no harm. Well, yeah, sometimes you don't know what harm is going to be composed of, what it's going to look like. It's hard to avoid doing that. So what I'm trying to do is lighten more of this so that I have a good deal of value contrast instead of that one little wimpy thing that was so spectacular when I did it first. Almost there. Now I'm taking some of that yellow white, and I've added more white. And you see, this is the thing you have to watch out for. This and this are about equidistant, and that's going to be a problem. So well, keep coming close, but no cigar. Okay, and I'm gonna do a little more. I really don't want that to look like a balloon. Okay, another thought I had is I could make this more atmospheric by judicious application of some dark purples through there. But I think I'm going to save that for another painting. They say a painting is never finished, merely abandoned. Well, here comes the train, and I'm going to abandon this one.